Hey everybody, welcome to season 2 for the love of parks. Okay, so this podcast brings Pittsburgh parks to life through stories, voices, and hidden moments that make them special. Each episode explores the people, the history, and the everyday joy that shows why these green spaces matter so much to our city. I'm your host, Natalie Bensavanga, and as a parks enthusiast, I am so honored and thrilled to be with all of you today. Now, we're going to dig into something exciting because I love learning about the things that you don't know about the parks. So have you ever heard of Hayes Woods? This special area of Pittsburgh is tucked above the Monongahela River and is the newest and wildest of our city parks. Green spaces are a vital source to any community, and we are so lucky that here in Pittsburgh, our parks really are our treasures, and they really are meant to be enjoyed by all. Once home to coal mines and heavy industry, Hayes Woods, a massive green space, is now undergoing an ambitious transformation. In this episode, we will explore how we got here, including the layered history of the land, the ecological challenges it faces today, and the partnerships that are driving its restoration. So joining me today is Jared Belsky, Ecological Restoration Coordinator for the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy's Horticulture and Forestry team, and Kate St. John, birder, blogger, and one of the original friends of Hayes Woods. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, let's chat a little bit about your connections to this particular project. Jared, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me, Natalie. I've been working at the PPC for about 3 years now, but 2 of those years have been in Hayes Woods. And I started along with the first grant that we got for working in Hayes Woods, and that was all about initial invasive species removal and ecological restoration in this brand new space. So I've been learning just along with everyone about the amazing nature that is in this park.
Yeah, it really is like a hidden gem.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to learn all about it. And Kate, talk a little bit about your connection as well.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm an avid birder, and I write a daily blog about birds and nature in Pittsburgh, and I'm always curious about nature. So I go to many of the parks, notably Shenley Frick and Hayes Woods, to just observe everything and chill out and have a good time. So before Hayes was a park, I didn't even know about it. And then when we heard about it, I was interested in making sure that it stayed the way it is.
Yeah, and we're going to dig into a little bit about its sordid past here in a moment. So for decades, for people that might not know, this urban forest really was not known to most Pittsburghers. It was really hidden in plain sight. So we're going to learn today about what happened in Hayes Woods, how the community became involved well before the Parks Conservancy began stewarding it as an official park. For those who have never heard of Hayes Woods, what is this park exactly? Where is it specifically located? And can people go and hang out, like Kate said, and perhaps bird watch and chill? Jared.
So the answer is yes, it is a park now. It was designated a park in 2023. It makes up most of the neighborhood of Hayes, actually. And if you don't know where Hayes is, it's on the south side of Pittsburgh, nesting above the Monongahela River across from Hazelwood. But you can only get to it right now if you go through Baldwinboro. So it's quite remote. Lots of people haven't even been there. And it's 626 acres, which is the largest urban forest in the city. And yes, it's open to the public now, so you can go and explore.
That's what's so amazing, I think, about Pittsburgh. For a city this size, we have a ton of green spaces. So can you talk a little bit about, you were saying you love to bird watch, Kate, and you love to be in nature. What is it specifically about Hayes Woods that excites you?
The fact that there aren't roads through it, that it's basically wild, although it is not untouched because of its history. So there's a lot to learn there. And as Jared was talking about invasive species, that is one of its interesting, what do you call it, sidelights.
And we're going to talk more about those invasive species here in a moment. But I'd really like to dig in to the complicated past, right? So from coal mines to illegal dumping and even horse racing. I mean, when Jared and we were talking about this before we did the show, he was giving me such an incredible backstory. And I was like, oh my gosh, the drama of the space. So Jared, can you give us some of the highlights, or should I say cliff notes of, the different iterations of how Hayes Woods became to be what it is now?
Sure, yeah. So it is really interesting to talk about because while kind of, if you look on a satellite map, it's this massive green space of forest, and it looks kind of untouched. Like Kate said, it really still participated in the industrial history of Pittsburgh at large, and still carries those scars today. And so, coal was the main natural resource that was extracted in Hayes Woods all throughout the site. The name Hayes actually comes from James Hayes, who was a coal pioneer back starting around like the 1820s. And so he extracted lots and lots of coal from the site. And then kind of later into the next century, it was owned by a steel company. And they continued with the coal mining, but also used Hayes Woods kind of as their back property for dumping lots of their slag, waste product, and industrial fill and rubble. And then they built some roads through it, thankfully, which aren't roads anymore, but that kind of broke up the site a little bit and fragmented the forest. And so the scars, you can still see remnants of these coal seams today, and especially the roads. There's also some utility lines that run through the property. So it's very much an urban forest, but at the same time, it started to be abandoned later on in the late 20th century, and some of that forest grew back.
Wow.
And then it wasn't until the turn of the new century, around 2005 or so, when a private developer started to own it and made full-fledged plans for a racetrack and a casino to be put in.
Oh, man.
And Kate might have more to say on that.
I bet she does. When you were saying that the forest started growing back, I just started thinking of Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park when he's like, nature finds a way or life finds a way. Because it's so true. No matter what seems to happen, if we just kind of leave spaces alone and allow them to be what they are, they do seem to come back to life. And so I love this story of Hayes Woods, where it was this space where there was so much pollution and degradation, and to now see what it has become. But it didn't just happen, because this is not a Jurassic Park film. This is reality, and it takes activists and it takes people in positions of power and community members to align and say, hey, this park belongs to all of us. This space is for all of us. Kate, can you talk a little bit about how that conversation came into play to help bring this place back to life?
As Jared was explaining, the land was unused for a while. It had dumping, it had all kinds of things. It was undeveloped for about 70 years between when J&L bought it and it changed to LTV. They didn't really want it, and they sold it to a realty company. They couldn't figure out what to do with it. And finally, Charles Betters of PDG Associates bought it in 2003. And he had great plans, because at that time, if you wanted to build a casino, you had to have a racetrack with it. And he wanted a casino, and this was a great big space that he could put a racetrack. So he he said, some commercial areas and some residential. But the point was to have a big flat space. And so he had to publish the plans for doing that, of course, and that included bulldozing the site, valley filling as if you were coal mining, taking the remaining coal out. The whole site would have been lowered about 90 feet, and it would have been flat. But as soon as that became known, a bunch of us got together. We were spurred on to by one person in particular who said, "Hey, let's talk about this." And we started as a group, called ourselves Friends of Hayes Woods. Well, actually, our group kind of named it because it didn't really have a name. The Baldwin people have been going there forever, and they called it 40 acres, but it's not 40. And That usually refers to the farm, the back end of the farm. So we thought, well, what shall we call it? And the group came up with the name, said, oh, it is haze and it is woods. And we did some promotional items to show how good it was. And then it took a long time. We challenged all the permits, the mining permit, the valley fill permit. We got information about the value of the site and the animals and plants there. At the point at which it was sold from LTV, there had been no mining since the Hayes family. A lot of studies were done to figure out what to do to develop the site, and that's when, okay, there's coal. And if you want to make it flat, you're going to hit the coal, so you have to take the coal out. Or maybe you don't have to, but you could sell it.
Might as well make some money on it.
Listen.
Yeah, right. So that's basically what happened. Is it was elaborate. It was going to involve deforestation, big heavy trucks going through Baldwin residential areas to get in and out with the coal, all that stuff. It was not a
and this was all
received.
in preparation for them to be able to use it potentially for this racetrack.
Yeah.
So they were going to mine this. They were going to create, like you said, deforestation. They were going to really disrupt this ecosystem that had started to maybe come back. And so then that's really where the activism came in, and the Friends of Hayes Woods came in. So when did it actually happen then that you basically won this battle?
Well, there was a temporary victory in 2009 when all those permits were denied. So it meant he couldn't start anything.
So once you found out that the appeal was going to be denied and that really you were going to be able to perhaps start to create a space for all, a green space for all, how did that process begin?
Eventually, it was turned over to the city. And in 2018, 2019, the city did a Hayes Woods task force to envision what do we want the site to be? The answer was we don't want it to change. We don't want to turn it into a place that has roads and a lot of amenities or whatever. And I think to some extent that is a good choice.
As we're thinking about this now from a perspective of the future and looking forward, why do you think, Jared, this system, this particular park is so important to the future of the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy and our parks in general?
Yeah, because I think it offers something a little different compared to the rest of the parks in Pittsburgh. Almost an opportunity to protect as much green space as we can. Hayes Woods is very much kind of the most wild part of the city. I'm excited for the opportunity to protect it, but also restore it where we need to, and invite as many people as possible to come see it for themselves. Nature lovers, birders like Kate. There's amazing little patches of native plants in there, and there's just so many opportunities to learn about the nature of the region right here in our backyard.
Wow, I have to tell you, Jared, that was such a good closer. You're really helping me wrap this episode up because we're going to leave everybody in a little bit of suspense because we are going to continue talking about this in our next episode because there is so much more to share about this story. So you're going to have to join us next time as we dive into the goals and challenges of Hayes Woods as a park and explore the exciting restoration work thus far and the partnerships that are being forged along the way. So if you liked this episode, please share with us your thoughts and your questions via email. And who knows, we may just be reading some on air next time or on our social media platforms. I'm Natalie Bensavanga. Thank you so much to my wonderful guests for joining me and for all of you tuning into For the Love of Parks, because come on, there really is so much to love. Thanks, you guys.